In late September, Amy and I did a nonstop Delta flight to Minneapolis and then drove north to the Ely area where we spent most of our time. It's probably the best canoeing area in the world. And then over to Lake Superior for a few days. On our way north, we stopped in Duluth at one of the best restaurants we ate at, interestingly named At Sura's Table Chester Creek Cafe. And I had some of the best blueberry pancakes I've ever had. We drove through Ely on the way to our rental cabin. It's a small town, 3,460 or so. Used to be a iron mining town, but now it's kind of the canoe capital of the United States. And here's our rental cabin located on Farm Lake. We rented it from Moose Tracks Adventure Resort, operated by a husband and wife. They were really great. And the view here through our picture window of Farm Lake outside the cabin. As soon as we got checked in, we took advantage of the free canoe provided by Jim and Joan, the owners of the resort, and canoed across Farm Lake and into just a little ways the Boundary Waters canoe area. And here are a couple of pictures of the great scenery we saw along the way. Well, we took a short canoe ride from the cabin on Farm Lake, and after almost an hour of canoeing, we are at the kind of the entrance to the Boundary Waters canoe area. From that is in the Boundary Waters, that clump of trees, and there's trees over there, and this is the entrance to from Farm Lake into the Boundary Waters. Perfectly still water today, and 73 degrees, but kind of cloudy. And we came from there and then across several miles across Farm Lake to get to this point. And here we are getting back to the cabins, Moose Tracks. And our cabin is right there. That's the wharf, the cabin, and my car, our car. And some signs of fall, obviously, already. On day 2 of our trip, Thursday, we did a short hike to Kawashi Falls on the Kawashi River that drains the Farm Lake that we're staying on. Not far from Ely is Kawashi Falls, from Garden Lake to Fall Lake. After the waterfall, we had lunch from Subway on Tofty Lake, and there we had the best sighting of loons. Most of them had gone south. We saw 2 of them out in the middle of the lake. In the afternoon, we did a hike around Blackstone Lake and beside Secret Lake, as shown on this GPS track. Blackstone Lake. We're doing the Blackstone Lake Secret Lake loop. And scrolling around to the east, more views of Blackstone Lake. On this loop, we had some great views of birch trees with their beautiful white bark, and a lot of them had already lost some leaves. Here we're continuing along the north side of Blackstone Lake, and we saw this beaver house toward the end of the lake in the marshy area. And after Blackstone, we walked along the divide between Blackstone and Secret, and this is Secret Lake, kind of hidden, but a very beautiful lake. Here's the strong gust that kept us from canoeing today. A little unnamed lake to the north of Blackstone Lake, near the trailhead.
just a few minutes ago.
After Blackstone and Secret Lakes, we drove to Lake One Put In, where I'd started a week-long canoe trip sometime in the past. And you can see from the wind blowing in the trees and on the lake, we decided to put off at least for another day and ended up putting off until Saturday another canoe trip. On the way back to Ely, we stopped at the pullout above this beautiful lake and marsh. On Friday, we first went to the Dorothy Malter Museum, honoring a lady who lived on Knife Lake between 1934 until her death in 1986 in this cabin. And she was known as the root beer lady because she made root beer and sold it to passing canoeists. After the museum, we headed for Bass Lake and Dry and Little Dry Lakes. And this is a GPS track of our route, mainly around the Dry Lakes, a place with a really interesting background.
We're doing the Dry Lake, Bass Lake loop. This is beautiful Dry Lake. And right over there is a small outlet from Little Dry Lake, which is on the other side. It's really just right over there. And at one time, both these lakes were 55 feet or so higher. And a washout in Bass Lake down below this one caused Bass Lake to drop and these to drop by 55 feet. Leaving the remnants Little Dry, and a smaller reduced Bass Lake. Squirrel eating on a pine cone. Dry Lake.
Ahoy there.
Ahoy there, Amy. How do you like Dry Lake?
Good to know.
Well, we're down to Bass Lake. That's the huge Bass Lake. We've made a traverse all the way around, pretty much almost the Dry Lake. Dry Lake flows into Bass Lake over those tiny falls there. This is the channel. Amy's going down to a bridge across the lake, the creek between Dry Lake, which is up there, not far, and down here. And at one time, Bass Lake was at least up to probably where I'm standing, and covered all this, and also covered everything around here and up to Dry Lake. But now you've got Little Dry Lake, and Bass Lake, all separate. Crossing over the outflow of Dry Lake into Bass Lake. And Dry Lake is maybe 50 to 100 yards up there. Coming down this channel is the outflow stream. And here's where Dry Lake outflow stream goes into Bass Lake. Kind of like an infinity pool right there. And there's a drop of 30 feet or less, I guess. Small waterfall dropping into Bass Lake from Dry Lake off to my left. Well, we're leaving Bass Lake behind now. In the distance down there. Well, I just had to get up. It's around 6:40 and a beautiful sunrise. Here's our little wharf, and there's the sunrise. misty fog over there. All we need now is a loon calling, and it would be totally north woods. Or a moose would be good too.
And finally, here are a couple of still photographs of one of the prettiest sunrises I've ever seen for sure over Farm Lake. Our plan on Saturday was to canoe south and north Hegman Lakes, mainly to see some Indian pictographs, which are located at the top of this GPS track. We had a little over a third of a mile portage, and here I am carrying some of our gear down to South Hegman Lake, and then Amy is carrying some more gear down on these steps. I would have to come back and get the canoe then. And finally, here we are starting up South Hegman Lake, heading toward the pictographs.
This is our first portage from South Hegman to North Hegman. And the other lake is just, not far on the other side of those rocks. We're on North Hegman Lake now and heading toward the pictographs. The wind's picking up a bit. And we think we're getting close to the petroglyphs. We think they're on that rock there. So we'll paddle over and see. We're at the upper end of North Hegman Lake again.
There's canoes there.
Okay, Amy sees them, so they're there. So let's go. And here they are, close up. There's a moose, big antlers, a man beside it. There's an X above it, maybe a canoe above it. Maybe an animal, panther, whatever. Really good. What, Amy?
Those are canoes above the standing man?
It looks like it could be, yep. Pictographs.
And this is really great.
North Hegman Lake. Underwater's canoe area.
Here are some photographs of the pictographs. They're said to be among the best of the 30 or so in the Boundary Waters area, and were done 500 to 1,000 years ago, painted of red ochre. The drawings include a bull moose, a dog or wolf, a human figure, and some canoes above those.
This is our lunch stop. This is actually a portage from Tressie, T-R-E-S-S-E, I think, Lake, which is at the upper end of North Hegman. And there's a portage trail, goes a mile to another lake, the longest portage in the Boundary Waters, apparently.